Hey everyone, your favorite Gallivanter here. Good to be with you today in Estero, Florida. A place you've probably driven past on I-75 without realizing it holds one of the strangest, most fascinating chapters in American utopian history. This is Koreshan State Park, home to cypress trees, scenic kayak trails, and what was once a thriving religious cult that believed, stay with me here, that the earth is hollow, not figuratively, literally. They believed the earth was a sphere and we lived inside of it. That's right, inside, sun, stars, and all. Welcome to the strangest theory that never made it into your high school science book. But here's the kicker. These weren't fringe lunatics building bunkers. They were scientists, engineers, academics. They had a printing press, an orchestra, a bakery, and they ran this part of Florida like a utopian commune for over 40 years. So let's go inside Koreshan style and explore the bizarre, beautiful, and oddly serene remains of Florida's most charmingly delusional social experiment. It all begins, as all great cults do, with a man and a revelation, preferably while messing with electricity. Enter Cyrus Teed, a 19th century physician from upstate New York who in 1869 was performing a routine electrochemical experiment and claims he was electrocuted so badly that he went unconscious and woke up having been spoken to by a divine feminine spirit. That spirit gave him a mission: abandon conventional science, change his name to Koresh, the Hebrew form of Cyrus, and enlighten humanity with the truth that the earth is concave, not convex. That is, we are living on the inner surface of a hollow sphere, and everything we perceive, the sun, the stars, gravity, is simply an illusion governed by divine mathematics and light refraction. And like any good 19th century man with a God complex, Teed declared himself the seventh and final messianic figure in human history, following in the footsteps of Jesus, Buddha, and apparently Copernicus's worst nightmare. Now, this wasn't just some guy shouting on a street corner. Teed was persuasive, charismatic. He convinced educated people, physicists, musicians, even professors, that not only was his cellular cosmogony real, but that they were the chosen few to usher in a new society. This belief system mashed together religion, science, communism, feminism, celibacy, and a kind of socialist theocracy, all rolled into one leafy Floridian compound. They believed in reincarnation, the divine feminine, and that Teed's body would be resurrected after death. And if you're wondering whether any of this made sense, no, it did not. But it was 1894, and Florida was still basically frontier land with swamps, mosquitoes, and cheap acreage. So why not start a cult? In 1894, Teed and a small group of followers purchased 300 acres along the Estero River in what was then a mosquito-infested stretch of nowhere between Fort Myers and Naples. Here, they founded the Koreshan Unity settlement, a self-sufficient celibate commune. At its height, over 200 people lived here, building structures, operating businesses, and producing goods that rivaled the surrounding townships. They had an art hall, which still stands today, a publishing house that printed The Flaming Sword, their theological and political newspaper, a power plant among the first in the region, a school, machine shop, bakery, and full-scale concert orchestra. Women held leadership roles, a rarity at the time. They even established the College of Life, which taught Teed's theories to the next generation of hollow earthers. And unlike other cults, there was no mass suicide, no apocalyptic countdown, no machine guns and bunkers, just a tranquil, well-run town with progressive ideals and one truly deranged idea about astronomy. The daily life of a Koreshan was a structured blend of spiritual devotion, manual labor, musical performance, and constant reinforcement of Teed's cosmology. Children were raised communally. Personal possessions were surrendered. Sex was forbidden. Marriage was obsolete. And if that last part seems like a red flag, it was also the beginning of the end. Koreshans believed that sex was the downfall of humanity. Teed's vision of the future was populated by celibate intellectuals, which is all well and good until you remember biology. Spoiler alert, without new recruits or reproduction, utopias tend to run out of utopians. In 1908, Cyrus Teed died after a scuffle with a town marshal in Fort Myers, and his followers placed his body in a bathtub waiting for the promised resurrection. It never came. After days of guarding the body against decomposition and legal interference, local health authorities stepped in, forced burial, and Teed's remains were quietly laid to rest, later washed away by a hurricane. No divine resurrection, just Florida erosion. With their messiah gone and their population aging, the movement began a slow, irreversible decline. By the 1940s, the last remaining Koreshans deeded the property to the state of Florida. Their utopia was now a park. And if that isn't the most Florida ending to a cult story ever, I don't know what is. Today, Koreshan State Park is a peaceful, oddly magical place. You can still visit the original art hall, the bakery, the founder's cottage, and the machine shop. Canoe down the Estero River, stroll beneath banyan trees that Teed himself planted, tour the gardens, which remain stunning thanks to the group's obsession with exotic plants and landscaping. The park is now listed on the National Register of Historic Places and plays host to living history events. Yes, the Flaming Sword is still available in reprint, in case you're itching to read 19th century anti-Einstein manifestos over your morning coffee. So is Koreshan State Park worth your time? If you're expecting cheap thrills, theme park glitz, or cultist shock value, look elsewhere. But if you want a place that makes you think about belief, idealism, science, ego, and the American tendency to reinvent society in a swamp, this is it. It's haunting, peaceful, and weird in the way Florida does best. The buildings are modest, the trails are quiet, and the stories, my God, the stories are unforgettable. Where else can you walk the remnants of a hollow earth theocracy and then kayak past an alligator like it's just another Tuesday? Koreshan State Park isn't just a quirky footnote in Florida history. It's a monument to what happens when grand ideas collide with flawed humanity and humid weather. It reminds us that utopias don't need to end in fire or infamy to still be fascinating. Sometimes they just slowly fade into the moss. Thank you so much for gallivanting with us. Be good to yourself.